Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this absolute dream match that I got for you guys today. We got Inkugork, the best Advanced Wars player in the world, going up against Deadefs, one of the other best Advanced Wars players in the world, and they're in a goddamn Jess mirror match. It doesn't get any better than this, ladies and gentlemen. When I saw this match, I slammed the follow key so hard, I almost broke my keyboard. I was like, I'm going to cast this match whenever it's done. And it's done, ladies and gentlemen, and it was absolutely spectacular. These two players are just so damn good at Advanced Wars. You really don't get a match of a higher caliber than this. So, how will this go? Inkugork versus Deadefs in a Jess mirror match. Well, let's find out, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is a high funds match, and it's a massive map. This is from the Discord Cup. I believe the map is called Desert Tomb, but I don't really know why it's called Desert Tomb. I mean, it doesn't look deserty to me, but then again, you don't really have the option to make maps into desert maps on Advanced Wars 5. You could on the Dual Strike cartridge, if you guys remember. You could, like, make a map into, like, a wasteland. It wouldn't change the terrain, but it would make it look different. A little bit of a cool tip for map makers. Maybe we should consider something like that for Worst World. So, why have both of these players decided that Jess is the top pick for this tournament? Well, it's because it's a high funds map, which means that we get 2,000 income per city. This means that infantry by default are less viable, and we're going to see a lot more tanks. Tanks. You're going to see a lot of tanks in this match, ladies and gentlemen. And when it comes to high funds, Jess is actually a very, very solid pick, at least in my opinion, or I think in most people's opinion, because, again, just the extra movement and firepower combined with the extra income just means that you're going to get, like, these massive tank attacks that can just wipe your opponent off the floor. And, of course, you can pick other COs, like Cole, for example. There's a lot of roads here, or Jake. But the problem with Jake on this map is that look at all the roads and all the forests that are blocking the plane tiles. Most of the engagements are going to be taken around these road tiles right here, which means that Jake struggles to get his planes bonus. So I think that's why both of these players settled on Jess as their pick. Inkugork tends to leave comments on my videos, so I'm sure he can explain more about why he decided to pick Jess for this. And if I see it, I'm going to pin it like I always do. I always like reading Inkugork's thoughts on the matches that I cast. But, ladies and gentlemen, I say we get started. I am very, very, very excited to cast this game. It's going to be an absolute banger! So, down in the bottom right trunks, wearing red, we have our Norwegian champion Inkugork. Up in the top left corner in the green trunks, representing the true colors of Green Earth, we have Deadefs. I believe he's from Austria. So we got Austria versus Norway right here, ladies and gentlemen. So both of these players have these, like, neutral properties that they gotta capture immediately. And then there's a third neutral property all the way over there that is, like, segregated by a river and a mountain chain. So these two bases players can put a lot of pressure with vehicles like tanks, recons, to kind of deny this base a little bit here. Because look how hard it is to reinforce. You have to send units all the way around here. So, and also, like, once both players capture these airports, they can produce battlecopters and bombers to threaten this base even further. So it's a very dynamic map. The map is big and it's pretty open. So again, gonna see, like, a lot of tanks, probably Neo tanks in the late game. Maybe even some Mega tanks, who knows, But for the most part, both players are just gonna go for their properties. The properties are pretty spread out on this map. Like, you have to walk pretty far to get to them. So Deadef's already opening up a tank right now with high funds. It's very feasible to get lots of tanks out in the early game. Inkugork opens up a tank of his own, so tank versus tank right there. There's also a comm tower on this map, which is a pretty big deal, because the comm tower means that Jess reached that coveted plus 20% day-to-day firepower on our tanks, and that's always a big benchmark to reach on Advanced Wars, because that means that your tanks can two-shot other tanks on cities. And if there's one thing you're going to see a lot in this match, it is Jess parking her vehicles on cities, where they're just incredibly hard to dislodge, because it's very hard to take cost-effective engagements against Jess when she has a medium tank or a neo tank on a city. Like, what are you going to do, attack it from a road? You're going to take as much damage as you deal. So unless you have superior numbers, you're just not going to attack into that. Deadefs is now going very aggressive, wanting to deny these properties right here. Of course, Inkugork has already captured this base, so he can get tanks out of there. But considering its high funds, it's a lot more viable to sack a tank to interrupt a cap, because every property is worth 2k. So if you can, like, deny a city for 2 turns, then you've almost earned in the tank, even if you lose it. So something to keep in mind. Inkugark driving aggressively out with his tanks right now. Dedev's going for that neutral I almost said hardport, the airport on the little island right there. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that there are shoals here, so if you can get an anti-air over here, you can lock the airport down. It's going to be hard to do, but it is a possibility. Dedevs decides to do something kind of interesting here. He goes in, attacks from the forests, and interrupts the cap. Problem is, Inkugark can now surround him, which is going to mean the death of that tank. But maybe Dedevs just felt like it was worth it to get that property interrupted. Because that property is going to be interrupted for 2 days now, since he brought it down to 4. Which means that's a total of 4k income that he's stealing away from Inkugark there. But if he loses a tank in the process, then that's still going to be a little bit more valuable for Inkugark in terms of pure funds. So, but I guess the rationale behind this is that if Inkugark wants to capture the property, then he needs to attack from a road. And depending on how the luck swings, then it might be a rather equal engagement between the two here. But Inkugark will get his... he hasn't gotten his comm tower yet, so as you can see, okay, 5-7. I think it could have very easily been 6-6 if Dedevs had rolled, like, minimum luck and Inkugark had rolled maximum luck. But I'm not entirely sure, because Inkugark doesn't have his comm tower yet. So that tank is definitely going to die from Dedevs, but Dedevs can also use that 5 HP tank to interrupt Inkugark's cap now, delaying it by 1 turn. So if you actually combine the total funds that Dedevs has denied from Inkugark here, 4k from the city and then 6k from this city by interrupting it for 1 turn. So he lost the tank for 7k, and dealt a little bit of damage to Inkugark. But it's, in terms of like pure funds, they both came out equal on that trade. Of course, Inkugark's gonna have a unit count advantage over Dedevs, 1 extra tank. So you can argue how effective it is, but I still like this early aggression from Dedevs. I think Dedevs realizes, and I'm not gonna like presume to know what goes on inside his head, but I think Dedevs realizes that he doesn't want to go into a stall war with Inkugark because Inkugark's walls are so damn good. So he probably want to play this very aggressively and try to like kill Inkugark early on rather than let it go to late game, because I don't really think anyone's capable of beating Inkugark in a late game scenario. Interesting, Dedevs does not interrupt, but rather actually kills the infantry, evening the unit count advantage. I like that, that's actually kind of cute. Now both players have their airports. Inkugark rolls in with some more tanks, retreats this other tank. You can see he really parks those tanks on those vehicles, or sorry, on those properties. Just gonna make it so hard for Dedevs to interrupt here. Both players preemptively building anti-air. They know that these airports will build battlecopters. Just battlecopters are not as bad as you might think. Minus 10% firepower, which gets evened out by the comm tower. Just air units are completely fine in high funds. There's nothing wrong with them. Dedevs once again getting very aggressive here against Inkugark. As you can see, he's not sitting back and letting the Norwegian champion boom. He's going for it. So many tanks on these. We're in day 9 and there's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tanks on the map. That is absolutely incredible. And there comes the battlecopters. So many tanks. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tanks on day 10. That is absolutely insane. No wonder these players picked Jess. This is a tank spammy map. But Inkugark decides to fire back. Now builds the Neo. Smart move. Jess Neo tanks are so damn good, man. They're so incredible. Once they get that extra movement, they just punch through everything. It's absolutely incredible. They're some of the best wall breakers in the game. But Inkugark is not overextending here. He sees that Dedevs has a lot of tanks waiting for him. And Dedevs continues the aggression, man. Parks the vehicle on that city. He's gonna take the fight to Inkugark. Setting up a nice little infantry wall there. This is a scary force from Dedevs right now, and he's got a lot of terrain in his favor too. He's set up his forces so that Inkugark either has to take engagements from roads or plains to attack into him while he is sitting on all the cities, which is incredibly smart. Dedevs 2 builds a Neo tank and sends his battlecopter. Gotta love how he nestles it inside those mountains right there. Now, I do believe that Inkugark can still kill this with his tank and kill the battlecopter, but that means he just dies on the next turn. But he goes for it though. He goes for it. Boom. So did Dedevs just blunder a battlecopter? I think he might have just blundered a battlecopter, which might be a pretty big deal. In high funds, it's less of a big deal due to like, I mean, just there's being more income on each side. But Yeah, a little bit of a weird mistake. It's not every day you see Dedevs just throw away a Battlecopter like that. But let's see if he decides to punish Inkugork for that or not. The problem is right now, Inkugork has 2 Neo Tanks, so if Dedevs charges into this, he's going to lose. Day 11 comes in, another Battlecopter attacks. Yeah, Dedevs pulls back, so it was definitely a blunder. Now we got Neo Tanks entering the fray right here. This is about to blow up pretty hard. Tanks are retreating, both players are keeping their infantry in front. Yeah, Dedev's not going to try and cap that city. It's not going to work. Still 2 neutral properties over here that both players definitely want to get their hands on. More Antire coming out. We're probably going to start seeing both players produce bombers at some point. The question is just who's gonna pop their powers first? Who's gonna pop their power first? Both players just building up right now. Dedev's not going for the captures over here. Balling his units up. Ooh. The thing about Inkugork, though, you do this against Inkugork, suddenly he's just gonna pounce on you. Suddenly he's just gonna pounce on you. He may likes to play defense, but when he sees an opener, he will go for it. And I do think Inkugork is getting ready to pounce right now. It does look like he's setting himself up, because whoever gets to pop their power first is gonna have a huge advantage. Love this bomber out of Inkugork right here. It can join the fray immediately, even though there are 2 Antire from Dedevs right here. Oh, who is going to make the first attack? Dedevs is scared right here. He doesn't want to attack into this. He doesn't want to attack into this. Builds another Neo Tank. Now he has 4 Neo Tanks on his side. So Inkugork actually decides to forego his cap here to go for this one. A risky move. But there's some tanks left behind here by Dedevs that are going to get picked up here. So Inkugork's getting some good engagements. And now we're getting into super territory right here. And Dedevs is taking some hits here. I don't know if this is a good idea. His units are a little bit too far behind, but he might pop his power this turn. He has his super. Okay, so now the question is he going to go for it? He goes for it, but he pops Turbocharge. He pops Turbocharge, not Overdrive. He pops his normal power. Because he'd like to save his he'd like to save up for another normal power later on down the line. So very a pretty conservative power from Dedevs right here. I guess he just wanted the defense. He's not really like going full throttle here. He seems like he just wanted to interrupt these 2 caps and get the defense bonus. So if Inkugork wants to pop his super right now, Dedevs will have that slight extra defense. It's a defensive turbocharge, ladies and gentlemen. I never thought I'd see it. But Inkugork's like, okay, I see your turbocharge. And I raise your turbocharge of my own. And in comes the tanks. Loving how both of these players... Oh, look at this! He blocks in the tank with his artillery. That is just fantastic. So both players just popping a defensive turbocharge just to get that slight extra movement and positioning advantage. You love to see it. So many players, I think, would have just smashed the superpower, but not these players. So a massive amount of just restraint from both players right now. They're very equal on unit value, very equal on unit count. Inkugork has a slight income lead, 40 to 38,000. But they're very evenly matched. Look at this. They're incredibly evenly matched right now. Let's see what Dedevs decides to do. He goes in with the Neos right now. Oh boy, he's going for it. He's feeling confident. Pops a second turbocharge. And in comes the infantry. Can he reach the bombers? I don't think he can. The tanks are charging in to the front lines right here. He's inflicting a serious amount of damage to Inkugork right now. It's a solid attack. Wipes out the infantry. Not a lot of infantry in the area to capture, though. Look at this. Look at this. There's like 3 properties right here that Dedevs could have gotten, but he doesn't have a single infantry. Just a 1 HP and a 4 HP infantry. He needs to build infantry. He really needs infantry right now. Otherwise, his income is going to start to suffer. No, he has to build Antire. He has to build Antire to ward away Inkugork's bombers, otherwise he's in trouble. Day 16 rolls in. Is Inkugark going to do the same maneuver? Attack a little bit and then pop a turbocharge. Let's see what it says. I don't know what he's doing with his artillery, but I absolutely love it. No, there we go. Another turbocharge from the Inkugark. And here comes a devastating attack. Oh, he sacks 2 tanks to break a wall. That is fantastic. Look at this. In comes the tank. Battlecopter joins the fray. Neo kills the other Neo. He's systematically targeting Dedef's anti-air, which is really smart. Combines his tanks together. Smart move. Look at that. And that's a really solid attack from Inkugark right there. And Dedef's tries to counterattack to the best of his ability. But his unit count deficiency is just really low right now. But he's gonna try one last turbocharge. He gets the bomber, but he doesn't kill thanks to the defense bonus, which is such a shame. And it doesn't look like this attack will really do anything. He is behind right now. And I think sensing that he is behind, he decides to just resign right here. So, in the end, ladies and gentlemen, turns out that Inkugark is still on the throne. Even against the terrifying opponent in Dedef's, he's showing why he's still the best player in the world. Both of these players are very evenly matched up, but you can just see Inkugark's just a tiny little bit better. He just comes out on top. And I saw them chat with each other in the Grandmaster Discord after this match, and Dedef's listed the reason he resigned was just he had an income disadvantage that is just going to... I mean, if you look at this match right now, some players may think he's resigning prematurely, but look at Inkugark's positioning right here. He is winning kind of in the center, and he is winning on the flank, and he's about to capture 3 properties right here, whereas Dedef's has no infantry to really... Like, there's a ton of properties just sitting here waiting to be captured, but Dedef's doesn't have the infantry to get them, because he has to constantly build anti-air out of this base to ward away Inkugark's bombers, so he can't get the infantry in here. So Inkugark just won this due to having a slightly higher unit count and just more infantry. He was able to keep his infantry alive more, which means all these properties are going to fall. So just this tiny little advantage that he was able to capitalize on into a win. So he definitely would have won in a turn or two, even if Dedef's had not resigned. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this absolute banger of a match. A little bit of a short match, but I figured I'd cast it anyway. I mean, it's not every day we see 2 players go against each other of this caliber in a Jess mirror. Hope you guys enjoyed the match. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!